Okay, we are going to have a quick discussion um, about some basics of the mousetrap card design based on some of the things that were discussed in some of the previous videos about axle rotations, wrapping strings around axles, how we do things like that. So, first off, some general sizing requirements. If you were actually, you would receive a block of wood that is 8 inches in its length and 3 inches in its width. So 8 by 3 would be the beginning block of wood that you would get. And that's important because when you go into SketchUp to create this drawing, you need to stay within that size. Okay. Now, that being said, you can make the car narrower than 3 inches, or you can make it shorter than 8 inches, but you cannot make it bigger than that. We can't make the piece of wood get bigger, but we can certainly cut some pieces off the edge of the wood to make it smaller. So do remember that once you get started in SketchUp, that the largest rectangle that you can start with is 8 by 3, but kind of depending on where your designs go from there, it may actually be smaller than that. Okay, so some discussions about other kind of design ideas within that. Okay, so next you kind of have to think about how the mousetrap car works. Okay, so we had talked earlier about how you would be maybe wrapping the string around the axle to cause the axle to spin, which causes the wheels to spin, which causes the car to move. Okay, so one of the first things you're going to be doing on the video is placing the mousetrap somewhere on the car, because the mousetrap has to go on the car somewhere. So you will be placing the mousetrap on the car. Okay. The next thing, remember, we're going to tie one end of the string to the mousetrap, and it's got to be wrapped around the axle. Well, in order to be wrapped around the axle, so if we have an axle over here with our wheels sticking out, and our other wheel over here, then we probably have some front wheels up here. In order to make the car actually move, we've got to wrap that string right there around something. And right now we can't get to it because the axle is buried inside of the block of wood where this axle is going through the piece of wood. So the very first thing that you have to have in the design of your car is axle access. And axle access can come in a number of different ways, shapes, but the point would be to, for example, if I decide that I want to cut out a shape like this in the back of the car, what that is going to do then is it'll expose the axle going through the center. Okay, because this would no longer be here. That'll be gone. All right. So we've cut this section out. It's no longer there anymore. And again, you'll see this in the video. But what this is going to allow then is for the string to be wrapped around the axle. Okay, and then when the mousetrap arm moves forward, the string will be pulled off of the axle. Of course, when we talked about that, that's going to rotate the axle. It's going to cause the car to move forward. So one of the most important things is this axle access that you put in the design of your car. Okay. Then beyond that, it really just has a lot to do with creativity, okay, and what you want your car to look like. All right. Maybe you want to kind of make the sides of the car look like that. Okay. And then this would all be cut off. Now our front axle is going through the car up here. This, of course, is gone. And you end up with the shape of the car that you see there in the middle. And this axle would be going through the center of the car there. It would be in the car here, as well as over here. Okay. So the basic ideas, and two of the most important things is that 8-inch max on the length, 3-inch max in this direction. Okay. So again, the ideas are endless on this. So, for example, you might have a car that looks like this. Maybe you put a hole in the front up here. You've got your axles. So this is what I mean by sketching exercises. Come up with several different ideas of what you might want your car to look like. Maybe you kind of want a round look in the front of your car. And then it might come around and go like that, and your mousetrap would be here. Wheels sticking off here. Axle going through back here. Okay. And again, right there is that axle access idea. Okay. So many different designs that you could have for your car. The front, maybe you want to do something like that. Okay. And then on the back, maybe you want to go something like that. Again, axle coming through the back. Got your wheels here. Mousetrap here. String wrapped around the axle. So the point being is come up with some fun ideas for your car. Okay? But the things you have to keep in mind, 8 inches by 3 inches max on the chassis. Okay? In this part of the car, the part that you're actually designing, that's the chassis. The chassis of a vehicle is the part of the vehicle that everything else attaches to. So in this case, our front wheels and rear wheels attached to the axles, but the axles are attached to the chassis. The chassis carries those pieces. Okay. Same with the mousetrap. The mousetrap is attached to the chassis of your vehicle. All right. So it was in the instructions talking about chassis, and that's what that means. The chassis is the part of the vehicle that everything else is attached to. Okay. And then the other thing that you want to keep in mind is axle access, so that you can wrap the string around. Okay. Once you've made a few sketches like this, that's when you're going to go ahead and watch the video about designing the chassis of your car. All right. And then you'll go ahead and design your car in SketchUp. Okay. Good luck, have fun, be creative, and I can't wait to see some of your different ideas.